So I've gotten to this part in the Andrew Tate interview, and it's extremely interesting because this psychologist is essentially trying to convince Andrew Tate that he's essentially flawed and broken in ways that Andrew Tate actually isn't. And the reason why this is worth mentioning is because the fact that the psychologist is essentially trying to make Andrew Tate in his image to conform to what he understands is both narcissism and low values simultaneously. And I think it represents a dichotomy between truly impressive men and men who want to be impressive without being true heroes. The psychologist wants to think he's a true hero, but the way he's trying to put problems onto Andrew Tate is very interesting. By the way, I'm recording this right as the hurricane's reaching, where I live. So if it starts raining or thundering, it could be because of that. But it's not supposed to get here for a few more hours. I will be recording stuff while it's here. But yeah, just to let you guys know.
I learned.
Did you learn anything about yourself?
What is that weird skeevy tone? As if he already is privy to information that Andrew Tate is hiding from himself. That is narcissism.
Again,
New information. That's all. I mean, you must have, right?
The psychologist thinking as though he's gotten to territory that Andrew Tate hasn't had is the type of behavior that simply would not exist in an older world, because it is narcissism and it is disrespectful, in my opinion. And what's weird is at the beginning of this interview, which I recorded another video about, didn't have this tone. It was more collaborative. It was more inquisitory. This psychologist was more inquisitive when he was talking to Andrew. It seemed honest. Now it's starting to change. Very interesting.
I mean, you had a new experience, so there must be new information. I mean, you got tested, right? You're in jail, for fuck's sakes. Like, something must have...
He's begging Andrew for him to say there's something wrong with me.
Popped into your mind. There must have been some revelation, some edge that you came to.
What he's not content with is that Andrew Tate had built himself up so impressively beforehand and was so correct that everything went exactly as he planned. And this is something that I relate to, because truly prepared men who are extremely intelligent and perspicacious and analyze everything in a way that most people couldn't even dream of are not taken aback by problems in the way that he wishes that Andrew Tate was. And the reason he wishes it is because there's something deficient about him. He should be better. He should plan for more. If he can't relate to what Andrew Tate's talking about, and this is the difference between a great man and a nobody.
It had to be, no?
I'm exactly who I thought I was.
Gosh, that's so badass. And it's so relatable. And now the psychologist is laughing because he's trying to cope with the fact that he knows Andrew's different from him. He knows he's built different. And it's kind of frustrating for me to see a psychologist who's chosen the field of psychology to be so clearly insecure and unequipped as a man while simultaneously trying to pull someone else down.
I am 0% full of shit. I am exactly who I thought I was.
0% full of shit?
If you would have told me before I went,
like 0.1,
before I went to,
he's begging Andrew for him to say that he's not exactly who he thinks he is.
Before I went to jail, before they put me in that dungeon,
and it just continues to ramp up. At a certain point, it gets to the point where the psychologist is saying, "Are you sure your father loved you?" It's crazy. It gets crazy.
In the dark, with the cockroaches. If you would have told me how I would react to that scenario...
My honest analysis of this video is this psychologist is not comfortable with the highest levels of masculine performance. He's actually, in his heart, not comfortable. He hasn't integrated a theory of masculine performance into himself enough to the point where he can understand where great men operate from.
I would have said to you, I would have suffered and it wouldn't have been nice, but I would have refused to break, and I would have been the kind of...
When you have an exceptional mind state, You are prepared for the degeneracies of other people.
Person who sat there and endured and emerged more powerful than ever before. That's what I would have said.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done.
Yes, yes.
That's exactly what I've done.
Yes.
So,
But that's not the question.
no, it's not.
It is the question, though, in a sense, because he's asking, did you come out the same person as you thought you did? And Andrew is saying, yes, I did.
There may be a side order of nightmares. I learned, I've never had nightmares before in my life. That surprised me. But they're here now. That's life. I learned that, I guess. I learned that when I got out of jail. I didn't have nightmares in jail, which is strange. I had nightmares when I got out. Maybe it's fear of going back. Don't know.
Yeah.
But what else did I learn about myself? I had already pre-decided and I'd already told the universe how I would act in said scenario. This scenario was not a scenario I hadn't discussed or didn't believe could happen to me. I had already analyzed, if this happens, what are you going to do? It was a pre-designated plan. And I just followed the plan I had already laid out for myself when I had already psychoanalyzed myself without my qualifications. I had already decided what I must do, so I did it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was able and capable of following the plan and following through. So I'm not a liar. I'm 0% full of shit.
Right. I hear you.
And
he's frustrated. He's literally annoyed that Andrew Tate is manifesting a level of performance which he is not capable of.
And if I was full of shit, I would sit here.
Nightmares, though, but then there's something. That's not full of shit, but just the something happened.
Oh, completely.
Right, because you're having nightmares now. So something.
Let's see this guy try to psychoanalyze someone having nightmares about an immoral and traumatic situation. Like, and by the way, it wasn't, from what Andrew Tate's described, it didn't traumatize Andrew Tate, because again, Andrew Tate expected it, and for someone to be traumatized, they have to be surprised and not have an integrated theory for how something operates. That's actually technically how trauma is formed, is you experience, let's say, evil or malevolence, and you don't have a theory in your mind for what evil and what malevolence is. That's why people can get mentally damaged and broken by trauma. Anyway, you can have nightmares from a deeply immoral situation, obviously, that doesn't traumatize you. And so this guy's going to try to psychoanalyze his nightmares as if that's some sort of... Dude, it's really sad. I think this is proving to a lot of young men why they don't need therapy, unfortunately. And it's not as though young men don't need proper therapy, but the therapists are so weak and mentally frail. They are not high-performance men that it's they literally don't understand the performance demands that men are capable of.
Something is going on.
You are capable of understanding the world if you analyze and think hard enough. If you scrutinize yourself, your own mind, and put your mind in enough order rigorously, mercilessly, brutally, over and over and over again, and you never stop. I was born this way. From literally my entire life. Making sense of the world, analyzing everything. This is why I gravitated to science, and then philosophy and psychology. But a lot of people just don't relate to that. But it's possible. You can put your mind in such order that when terrible things happen, unfortunate things happen, tragic things happen, you are actually able to weather the storm without being moved. You learn, but it's like the concentric rings of scientific understanding. When a new theory is proven and people and the scientific community learn something new, it doesn't invalidate the concentric rings that came before. The concentric rings representing understanding, scientific understanding. It just broadens the understanding base, which is in accordance and coherence with the concentric rings coming from before, because those rings were also proven using the scientific method, or you can think of it as logical, objective, rational frameworks that allow us to understand and grapple with truth itself. That's another way of thinking about it that goes beyond science, in my view. So, yeah, men like this just don't grasp that. And it's sad because he's actually making a fool of himself in the rawest sense.
Yes. That you don't, like...
Understand.
That's all I'm getting at.
That's completely true. I performed exactly how I needed to perform and how I knew I would perform. So when I talk about being top G and mental control and depression is not real, everything I say is true. I performed exactly as I could. And I should. There is a side effect, which happens to be these nightmares. But my attitude towards the nightmares is, yes, thank you. Good. I don't want them to go away. They will go away when whatever needs to be dealt with.
Right, exactly. See, that's the difference between someone who would go to therapy, like you probably discuss clients, and Andrew Tate. He doesn't want his discomfort to go away because he's not looking for comfort. What you should be looking for is existential meaning to justify life's difficulties. And Jordan Peterson talks about that a lot.
It's dealt with by my own mind. And like I said, if anyone else could fix them for me, I would not allow them to, because I believe it is my lesson and it's my pain and my trauma and it's mine to deal with. And if I have to keep them forever, I'll keep them. I am not afraid of feeling negative. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of having nightmares. I don't wake up going, I want to feel good. I don't care. So if I have to feel miserable, it doesn't bother me. I don't see why. In fact, I'm going to change that. I don't see how you can put such importance on how you feel as a man, because it makes you non-competitive.
Well, but it makes you, what it does is it brings you into presence. And presence is the most powerful quality that you can have as a human being. And if you are not in touch with your feelings, if you disown them or you rationalize them in some way, you're not fully present.
Completely agree.
Right? So the reason we want to connect with the places we have fear or pain or sadness, right, or anger, whatever it is, it's not to feel it and let ourselves be.
Andrew actually is thoroughly present. Let me try to explain this because it's complicated. He is thoroughly present when you analyze for the end conclusion of what being present is, which is action. Taking action and avoiding pitfalls of the action doesn't mean you're doing it without an objective moral framework that is guiding your actions. It's not as though you're doing it without aim or an ideal. It actually just makes your actions sophisticated when you're able to merely act. Think about when you act without having to think about why you're acting. It's normally very pure action to help someone you need to help, or save yourself, or do work that you need to do. When you act without thinking, it's very pure action, and it's sophisticated. It isn't thoughtless. It isn't clumsy. It isn't jagged. No. It's pristine. That's what Andrew Tate is embodying here. It is a level of sophistication in action that is pristine. And the psychologist can't grapple with that concept because he hasn't gone far enough as a man.
Be a slave to it. Yeah. It's just to let it come into our conscious awareness to know what it is. There's information there. It's data, right? And if we can be present with all that we feel, right, we're much more powerful beings.
Now, it's super interesting you said that, because you're right. Because I wouldn't consider myself a present person. I am always thinking about what must be done.
Exactly. That's what I said. Now listen to the psychologist misinterpret what that means.
Interesting.
Always.
That you would confess that. You're not a present person.
Listen to his tone. Interesting. As if he just discovered something that can tear Andrew down, which is weird because that shouldn't be why he's there. But also, and also it can't, obviously. But and then he said confess, as if it's a negative thing to confess. But again, the fact that he thinks it's negative, which is why he uses the term confess, shows his lack of sophistication, and he doesn't understand what I just described.
No, I'm not present. If I'm present in the moment, I'm either on my computer talking to someone.
Andrew knows this instinctually, and you can tell from the way he's replying and his body language.
Else millions of miles away, or dealing with something else, or I'm doing this podcasting about how I have to spar afterwards, and then I've got a friend coming at 8:15 tonight. I have to see. I'm not present because things must be done, and they must be organized. Okay. I'm not competitive if I'm present. I need to do things.
In this moment, we should compare the lives of the psychologist and Andrew Tate. I think that would be prudent.
Now, I'll agree with you. You're right. I'm very rarely present.
But here's my frame for presence, right? The reason I'm not all the way present, which is all the way here, is because there's something here that I don't want to feel.
No,
that's
unsophisticated.
That's unsophisticated. I mean, that's like peon level. That's like people that never had a rational thought in their life, or never had an internal dialogue that is truly honest. Silly.
There's two scenarios in which I am very present. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about them in a second. But I'm not a very present person. But I have sacrificed the idea of feeling presence and feeling happy in the moment for, let's say, absolute capability and legacy.
But would you agree that being more present would give you more power?
In certain scenarios. Well, look, I think that might be the reason I love fighting so much, because that's the only time I...
Yeah, and they're going to discover that Andrew is present. Because, I mean, to be a fighter, you obviously have to be present. And for hyper-capable minds, being present can be difficult because the world can appear mundane. But what you do is you surround yourself and you engage with the aspects of the world which can sustain your mind. And for Andrew, that's fighting. For Andrew, that's driving fast cars. And there are many other things. There's research, there's science, there's understanding, and there's physical progression, going to the gym, fighting, etc. There's all sorts of ways to do it. But this is something that exceptional men will understand.
I have to be right there because one, I'm in pain, and two, if I'm not, I'm gonna be asleep.
Are you not present right now?
It's such a pathetic question when you realize he doesn't understand what I just described.
Are you present with me?
I'm paying attention.
Bro, Andrew's more present than you are at this point. Have you been listening to what he's been saying? The sheer agility of his mental frameworks? Like, how could he not be present? That's such a foolish thing to say. He's fishing for insufficiencies which aren't there because he himself is insufficient.
My brain's on. I'm paying attention.
Let your brain go and see what happens. Just be here with me and don't stop.
Okay. Laughing can be a coping mechanism for true absurdity. When I heard that the first time, which was like a few minutes ago when he said that, I thought about what I would say if I was in Andrew Tate's place in that moment. And I would say something like, what do you know about a human mind? And then just look at him. It's what a silly thing, what a silly question he just asked.
Thinking. Stop thinking.
I can't stop thinking.
Stop thinking. You can stop thinking. If you can't stop thinking, you don't have control over your mind.
Andrew is already proving the fact that he can act. Dude, the fact that he's saying that he's not present means that he's able to act without thinking, which, as I've already established, is ultra sophisticated. That's pure. That is pure harmonized intention. When you act without thinking, that is harmonized intention.
All right, cool. So I stopped thinking, but...
and just be in the place where there's no thinking.
Sure.
And just feel yourself, who you are, and see what happens.
Who is this guy?
And I believe I am, but I'm saying generally in life, I wouldn't consider myself a present person. I'm not the person who is enjoying the moment.
If you're able to act without thinking in a direction that is the correct direction, that's not an accident. That's not an accident. That is sophisticated and extremely calibrated. It doesn't happen by accident. You have to calibrate that over a long time. Andrew calibrated that through fighting and becoming an exceptional fighter, coordinating his attention, his body movement as he excelled. For me, it was intellectual pursuits.
But I am now because I'm focused. But now I'm focused.
But do you see the difference in the quality of the interaction we just had?
But what's it? Okay, let me ask you.
Do you see the difference, though?
I do.
Yeah. And how did that feel?
It felt fine. But what's the difference? Fine. What's the difference? But what's the difference?
But weren't we more connected in some way? Isn't there more possibility to get to something deeper or something more?
He felt more connected because he can't engage on the level of Andrew Tate.
Truthful there when your mind is not constantly running?
But I haven't lied to you.
I'm not saying you've lied to me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you've lied to me. I just said there's other levels.
There's a helicopter outside because they're preparing for the hurricane.
There's other layers, right?
Is there?
Is there? You get to it. That's why you fight. It's what you said, because it gets you out of your mind, fully in your body. And when you're fighting, you're in that zone. Some of their intelligence opens up, though.
Yes.
You're doing things. You can feel that guy, and you can miss the punch and you don't even know why.
Correct.
Right? And so that is available all the time if you're willing to get present.
Why is he explaining this to Andrew using fighting terms as if... Dude, okay, it's weird. That's super weird.
Does life require that degree of focus?
Not focus, presence.
I know they're slightly different. Maybe I see them as the same. I don't see myself as a particularly present person. I do enjoy the presence of fighting. I do enjoy the presence of driving fast cars very fast.
Right.
I'm thinking of it just so you understand my mental model.
What Andrew's looking for here is explaining to this uncalibrated man that he has already gone through the effort of organizing his thoughts to the point where he can act in accordance with a higher goal spontaneously and totally coherently. It isn't random. That mechanism is built through sheer competence and focus.
I don't ever, I'm sitting around and I'm like, yeah, I look around and go, I'm having fun. That's just not how my brain works, ever.
That feels sad to me.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Perhaps it is. I don't know.
Sad.
No, I'm not going to say it is because I don't feel sad about it. But let's imagine it is sad. I have no fear of feeling sad. If someone were to say to me, Andrew, you're going to enjoy the moment less because you're constantly preoccupied with running an empire that most people wouldn't believe is as large as you say it is, even if you told them. And you're going to have unlimited offspring who adore you. And you're going to have unlimited female interaction from women who truly would die for you. And you're going to be one of the most respected men on the planet. And you're going to have street cred in every city from Baltimore to Berlin. And you're going to end up going through all these trials and tribulations. And they're going to talk about your name after you're dead for hundreds of years. But you're not going to be present.
I love this. He's explaining to this man the difference between what his mind state produces and what his mind state produces. And by the way, the outcomes are actually a measurement of the truth of the ideas, because your mind state is what allows you to move forward in the world in a way that is either in congruence or out of congruence with reality. So it's self-validating. Here, listen to this.
Andrew, you're going to enjoy the moment less because you're constantly preoccupied with running an empire that most people wouldn't believe is as large as you say it is, even if you told them. And you're going to have unlimited offspring who adore you. And you're going to have unlimited female interaction from women who truly would die for you. And you're going to be one of the most respected men on the planet. And you're going to have street cred in every city from Baltimore to Berlin. And you're going to end up going through all these trials and tribulations, and they're going to talk about your...
Wow, dude, look at the psychologist's face. Think about, oh shit, I don't have street cred from Baltimore to Berlin. Oh my God.
...your name after you're dead for hundreds of years, but you're not going to be present in the moment. Would you take that? And I would say, yes, sir, I would. Give that to me. I can't be present because there's too much happening. How can I be
Gosh, it's so impressive.
present? How can I be present with hundreds of millions of dollars and DCOT trying to put me in jail? And how can I be present? I've got things happening in my brain. I can't be present. I've got things to deal with. I've got problems. So I've sacrificed presence.
Maybe you have a mental model that says I can't be all the way present and do all of those things, and maybe that model is incorrect.
Well, presence is if you're
maybe that model is incorrect. Dude, who are you? Who the fuck are you? Oh my God.
present, then you're not worried about anything outside of the moment you're in.
Not necessarily.
How does that work? I'm interested in.
Yeah, I mean, because the presence, right? You can let your consciousness go out, right? And you can be aware of everything, right?
I'm perspicacious is one of my favorite words. I am aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm just not particularly interested in it. So I will sit at a table where everyone's having a conversation, and I'll sit on my laptop, and I'll chime up once every hour. I hear every word. I've analyzed every word. I know who's right. I know who's wrong. I know what I could have said. I know
exactly what he's talking about.
The brain I could have changed, what mind I could have affected. I've already considered if it's worth doing, but I'd rather do my work. And
Dude, that's so relatable. Exactly.
Ignore it all until I pop up and say 3 words and control the entire conversation and go back to my laptop.
Yeah.
I'm aware of everything. I'm just not particularly present because I feel like I've built a life which is so large that it's hard for me to be present in the moment. I'm present with my children for an hour or 2, and then it's like, okay, back to work. Right. So,
was your father present with you?
No. But I don't think. But then again.
I'm just saying, as a psychotherapist, when somebody said that, you said that he wasn't present with you. That must have been.
That didn't bother me at all.
It didn't bother you?
No. He had things to do.
Why would it bother, dude? Do you think the greatest fathers in the world are not just fathers, but they're heroes. They're heroes to their children, especially to their boys, and also to their daughters. You think that to be a hero, you can always be around your kids like their mother? It's not true. I'm not saying that they're vacant, but they're out being heroes, and they're because they were heroes before they had the children.
We could talk about the haircut tweet, but I didn't understand, your history, that you were raised by a single mother. Your father wasn't around.
Yeah.
So you'd see him once a year.
About that, yeah. When we lived in America up to the age of 11, I saw him more often, once or twice a month maybe, and then.
When did they split?
I was 10, but I always understood he's very busy and has a lot to do. So I never...
Can you see how the boy might interpret that as my father doesn't care about me?
No.
What an incompetent thing to say as a psychologist. Okay, let me explain something. So, as a boy, I looked up to my father as a superhero, as many young children do. And my dad was a flight controller for the space shuttle, and he had, as a result of that job, he had to be gone in the middle of the night. He would have to leave at random times to go to the flight center control room, because when the space shuttle's orbiting, it doesn't care about what time it is, right? Do you think that I felt like he didn't care about us when he wasn't at home? No, because I knew he was doing something important, and I respected it. And because my mom acted as if it was important, my dad acted as if it was important, society acted as though it was important. So when you're 5 and 6 years old, you're like, Dad's out doing something important. He's out doing something glorious, worthwhile. When he comes back, he's a hero. That's the model. Dude, who is this guy's dad? Bro, what am I listening to right now?
Can see how I understand you sitting here right now, but you understand like a little boy.
I think a little boy
might think, where's daddy? I want daddy. I'm here alone with mom.
And he might be right, because some fathers may not care. But my father did care.
Right.
He was just very busy.
But it must have been confusing for you.
No. Why must it have been confusing? Why couldn't he have understood as I understood what was important? It's very simple.
Not for the little boy?
No.
Like bring.
I'm being honest.
This guy is so weird.
I'm being honest. It wasn't. Okay. I never
Or you cut off, or those feelings were so painful, overwhelming, you cut off from them so quickly and then created this mindset to deal with.
I never for a second felt like he didn't care about me, ever. I never felt that. It didn't cross my mind.
Consciously.
Consciously.
But is it possible that unconsciously you might have a different belief?
Son.
And that on some level, some of what you're doing in the world is motivated by that, like wanting to win the love of your father?
I think that is...
Here's where it gets fucking off the rails, dude. Oh my gosh. He's desperate to basically come up with a problem because he can't integrate a better theory of being a man into himself, and he also simultaneously can't accept how Andrew Tate is manifesting in front of him how there is another level of being and another level of being as a man, because he's stagnated. He can't get past it. I guess I'm psychoanalyzing the psychoanalysis.
Semi-true, but I'll tell you, I think that's
fine.
No. Fine. That's semi-true. That's semi-true because I believe I have a duty to my ancestors. I don't think it's coming from a place of I'm broken trying to fix myself. I think I have the last name Tate. It was bestowed upon me, and I have responsibilities to live up to the last name Tate.
Right.
I do believe I have a duty to my ancestors. So
Yeah.
is that trying to win the love of my father? Perhaps. I never felt unloved by
No, it's
my
more like living up to the expectation and the goal.
father ever. In fact, I would argue I had the best father on earth.
Right.
I never felt like I was owed all of his time. It was very clear to me at a young age that he's extremely busy and extremely important, and that I can earn his time, or that I can't have as much of it as I want.
You have to earn his time?
Yeah.
That was a son should have to earn his father's time?
Yeah.
Be worthy of it, at least.
Yeah, why not?
Because he's a boy.
True.
And
So
the
I
father's love should be,
No.
at least for a boy,
He's conflating spending time and love.
unconditional in some way.
Love and time are not necessarily the same thing.
Okay.
If I told my father, I want to play chess, I want you to teach me chess,
Right.
he could find 2 hours.
Right.
If I said to Dad, I want to play video games,
Exactly.
or let's watch TV together.
Exactly. When I asked my dad, explain to me how planes work. Explain to me how the lift... Dude, I remember we were playing Monopoly one day, one Saturday morning, and I just asked him about planes, and then he spent the next 3 hours of the day explaining to me how lift vectors work and how wings generate lift, and explaining all of that. You have to be worthy, or you should be worthy in an ideal situation, because if your dad's just spending, time with you watching the Disney Channel or whatever, I don't know what... I didn't watch a Disney Channel, but whatever. Then is your dad really a hero? Is he being the type of person that you would want to aim for? And by the way, I think that it's not exactly that people should aim to be like their fathers. I think people should aim to be better than their fathers, and that is what I would hope for my children, and what my father hopes for me.
He'd say, no, son, I have things to do.
Right.
So, to a degree, I had to earn his time.
Yeah.
His time was valuable and it could not be wasted.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a duty to my ancestors. I don't feel like, and when I'm in jail, I feel like I can't disappoint him, and I feel like I do good for the world. I don't think this is me being some kind of broken secret. This is where we're going to disagree. You're going to think I'm some broken child inside or something.
He wants to think that because Andrew Tate embodies how he has fallen short and is insufficient as a man. How the psychologist is insufficient.
Okay. Well, the inner child, or I'm guessing, but
Well, yes, inner child.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything to do with that.
Gosh, it's so weak and skeevy, pathetic, weird. It's like, what does he think these half-baked ideas even represent? They represent nothing if you actually analyze them.
I think it's duty. I think I have duty and I have honor.
Yeah, I understand you have duty as a man, but that doesn't mean the inner child is not there. And I guess that's if the inner child has been disowned in some way, or his feelings have been relegated to the unconscious, like that's impacting you, that's affecting you, and knowing what those feelings are and how they impacted you, I think, would be important information for you.
But I was never sad.
Right.
I can't say
And I know that that's right because he's talked about his father so much on so many different podcasts.
I had a hard childhood. I can't say I was sad. I can't say I wish he was different. Once again, and once again, let me psychoanalyze myself.
Yeah.
Once again, this might be rationale. I might be rationalizing.
Yes.
I might say, well, whatever happened made me the person I am today, and I love who I am today, so I'm glad it was the way it was. Perhaps. But once again, I think that puts me in the correct mental framework to be as capable as possible. I'm not going to sit here and say, I wish my dad did something else. What's the point? That's asinine.
Both things can be true, though. I wanted to see my father more. I wish he was there, and he wasn't. And
he's alleging that Andrew Tate's father wasn't there, when it sounds like, from what I've heard, and through the numerous podcasts that I've heard of Andrew Tate, that his father was there the exact right amount of time.
Now I'm here, and I'm going to make the best of it. And this is
So he's alleging something that is, baseless.
the result of that. And I've turned.
So since he's alleging something that's baseless, the question has to be asked why. And again, it's because he's insufficient and he's not a serious man. He's not a serious person who's thought through himself and realized where he's fallen short.
Myself into this beast because of it. I mean, you made the most of the situation, but that doesn't discount the place where you may have wanted more from him. You may have wanted more love, more connection, just more time.
I think my father did the best he knew how to do, and second, he did exactly what was necessary to make me the person I am today.
Would it be okay for you to be angry with your father?
No, absolutely not.
Why
It's
not?
disrespectful.
Why not? Why?
Because he's my father.
Dude, this is surreal right now. This psychologist is trying to convince, think about this, Andrew Tate to be angry with his dead father over something that Andrew had never bro. Okay, this is wild. This is the reason why so many men just laugh at the notion of therapy. Get this. This psychologist is trying to convince Andrew Tate to be angry with his father, who made him into one of the greatest, most impressive, ultra-competent men to ever walk the planet. And this psychologist is trying to convince him to be angry with his late father. What is going on, bro? It's crazy.
I'm not saying that you would have to confront him. I mean, obviously he's not here, but it's just like...
That's selfish.
But if it's just a feeling, right? If it's just a feeling that wants to come...
It's ungratefulness.
This psychologist had a pre-planned idea for what he would say when he came into this interview, and now he's just contorting himself in order to appease whatever was within him that decided to make this decision preemptively.
Well, you're judging the feeling.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
For me to sit and say to the man who made me the man I am today,
Yeah.
who I, once again, never felt unloved by,
Right.
who tried his very best to raise me,
Right.
who sacrificed for me to exist, who
Right.
gave me my last name,
Right.
who bestowed upon me the honors and principles and morals I live by today,
Right.
for me to be angry at him because he was busy some days would be brutally ungrateful.
Exactly.
No, I'm not allowed. No, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed that feeling. It's ungrateful. I refuse to accept.
Oh, that's so... Dude, that laugh is pretty much despicable. It's at that point where I would say, hey, let's compare lives right now, buddy. Who is your father? And where are you now? My gosh.
Accept it. I refuse to feel it. I truly believe I had the best father on earth. I truly believe it. I don't believe, even now, if I have sons, I don't talk about what children I have publicly, if I have sons or when I have sons or my sons I have, whichever one it is, they will get my time, sure. They will get my dedication, absolutely. But I have expectations of them because of their last name. And they're going to have my time while we're working towards something fantastic. I'm not going to just sit around with my kids just for hours because they just deserve it.
Exactly. I even remember with my dad when I was, playing different games. My dad would engage with me when I was building a model, I don't know, mechanical set or something, or that would end up being a toy, or when I was learning computer programming or something like that. He was super there. Or when I was learning about wiring and electricity, he was there for that. When I'm like, I can't even think back, or when I was doing something less important, there are hierarchies to these things. You know what I'm saying?
Right. There's no participation trophies in the Tate household.
Right.
And time is a trophy, and it must be earned, like everything else in life. So I'm not going to sit and have sons and go, well, he's my son, so we're just going to all day do fucking nothing. No, we're going to all day do something important.
For sure.
Or I'm going to go do something important. And he can sit around and do nothing by himself.
For sure. But you can also imagine if you had sons and you saw them once a year, that would have an impact on them. Like, how would you feel about that if you had sons and you only saw them once a year?
Once a year?
I think I'd miss them, of course. They'd miss me.
I bet your dad missed you.
Oh, completely. Absolutely.
I bet he was sad there.
Oh, completely.
And I wonder if he had self-judgment about it. I wonder if he
Undoubtedly. I mean, he's human. So what type of statement is that? The world isn't perfect. People are going to be sad about things, but they make the best of it.
questioned himself.
Well, I think as a man...
Because I don't think, would you do that?
Well, as a man, you have to make a choice. And I think it used to be more binary than it is today because of the nature of money and empire and how things work. But as a man, you have to make a choice. You either go to war and come back with stories, or you sit at home all day and be a second mother, and then you're not a man. You have to find the balance between the two, right?
Yeah.
My father was away a lot, but he wasn't away a lot because he was doing nothing, right? So if you have a soldier as a father,
right?
Okay, he's not.
It's actually a very good example.
There, but he's doing something. He's coming back with a story, and I think that
he's being a hero. See, fathers are meant to be looked up to, aspired to, for you to be like them. That's the archetype.
That was typical in a lot of households for a very long time. Maybe it's changed a little bit in modern times, but typically the man went away, did whatever he had to do, and then came back with a story or a hunt or whatever.
For sure.
So that's how I saw my father living his life, and that's how I want to live my life. Mm-hmm. I will do the same thing. I don't think I would be the same man if I decided to say, okay, I have a son now, so I'm just going to stay at home. Mm-hmm. And I think that I need to be a kind of man my son wants to emulate.
Exactly.
Which means I have to be a hero, and I don't think you can be a hero sitting
there it is.
at home.
Will you?
But if I'm happy with
Would you not want to give them more?
I may want to.
You wanted more.
I didn't say I wanted more. Oh. That's smart. I didn't say I wanted more.
You didn't? Yeah,
no.
You must have.
No, I'm saying that.
Look at this weird psychologist trying to convince him of something that he doesn't believe. That this isn't therapy. This is a very strange thing to witness.
I'm with his daddy. How can it has to be true.
He's basically professing his own insufficiencies. His own failure. This psychologist is a failure. On some level, he has not integrated an understanding of masculine performance. And that's eating at him, and that is defining him to an extent.
If I wanted it, I could have earned it anytime I wanted.
Well, are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
When we go, I don't know if we need to read the tweet, but it's like...
This is like some skeevy stuff now. This is starting to enter the realm of... a little bit disingenuous and not so good. Like this guy is projecting some serious problems he's got.
Your mom was pretty upset with him, so he was like, I'm not coming back here. It wasn't just about you, it was about your mother.
Oh, completely. And I think my father sacrificed his marriage.
When someone like this broken, insufficient psychologist sees a gleaming example of masculine performance like Andrew Tate, all that he thinks of, because he's already made an error in his earlier life about not striving to be the best version of himself, all he sees is, how can I try to tear this guy down so that I don't have to be shown up by his mere existence? And that's what he's trying to do here. You can tell. He's threatened by Andrew. He's threatened by who he is and his excellence and the fact that he has circumvented the problems that afflict him, that he allows to afflict him.
But I'm not saying, look, if my son calls me and says, I'm really upset, I need to talk to you, I'm not going to say, no, you can't talk to me. I'm not psycho, right? I understand all of these things. I'm just saying, obviously we're talking about a very general scenario. The general scenario is, I'm a man, I'm away at war, I come home with a story, or if I'm spending time with my son, I want us to be building him as an individual.
Right.
I believe that the mother does a lot of the day-to-day keeping the child alive, changing diapers, feeding them, etc. And the man is the one who instills a lot of the mindset. and the man is the one who grows them in very important ways. And I think to do that,
I think that a mother will also definitely instill a massive amount of the mindset. But the thing is you have to program the wife, the woman first, with your values so that she's able to pass your values down to the children, because she's going to be spending a lot more hours with the kids than you will be.
Be a man of genuine capability. And I would argue that the 2 hours a month or 2 hours a week or whatever I spent with my father, him being the man he was worth more than the 200 hours a month that most men spend with their fathers. That's why I am the man I am. Yeah. So there'll be some fathers who sit and say, I could never do that to my son. Well, what can you do? You can go do
Good statement. What can you do?
Can basically nothing with your life, pay your taxes, come home, be bitched at by your wife, be quiet about it, and be with your son all the time. Sure, you win in quantity of time, but who you are as a man and what the lessons you can really teach,
you actually don't even win in quantity, because you're not a model, you're not a hero, and then your son doesn't strive for anything more than likely. And if he does, he finds it outside of you.
Lose in quality of time. So I believe my father was such a fantastic figure that it's the quality of his time that made up for the quantity. And the only way to do that is to go out in the world and be fantastic. And we can actually extrapolate this out to other things. Let's look at relationships, for example. I see men who spend every day with their woman. That's fantastic. That's fine. That's how he elicits her love and her attention.
Are you rationalizing?
I'm completely. That's how he elicits.
What a stupid thing to say. What a stupid, low IQ thing to say.
I am. That's how my brain works.
Yeah.
I see men who spend every day with their woman, which is fantastic. He wants to, she wants to, that's great. They're happy. She feels loved and she feels respected and she's glad she has all of his
There's
time.
a subtle contempt of actual mental coherence in that statement. Are you rationalizing? There's a contempt of coherence there. Coherence is what builds civilization and male greatness. It defines male greatness. It is encoded within the architecture of honor itself. Coherence. Duty. This guy's pathetic. This psychologist is totally, utterly pathetic.
Time. When you reach a certain quality of man, a certain level of man in terms of competence, a certain echelon, I don't have to spend all day with a woman. I can see a woman 1 hour a month and she'll be loyal to me because I'm me.
Right.
Because the quality of who I am and the quality of my time outweighs the quantity which can be offered by a lesser being.
Yeah.
So you can put this in nearly any dynamic. You put it in a romantic relationship.
Lesser being. I'm glad he said that and then looked at the psychologist.
Once you reach a certain level of competence, once you're at the highest echelons of human achievement, your time is, by extension, more valuable.
Oh, that's painful for the psychologist. He can't accept that. You can tell from his blank expression, he's not trying to take that seriously, what Andrew just said.
Extrapolates out. An hour with the president is worth more than 100 hours with a guy at McDonald's. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah. So I think my father raised me by not being there. He raised me by being out there and doing so many fantastic things and being such a fantastic individual that I understood I had a duty to him and a duty to my last name, and I can't be his son and not be fantastic. So I think he raised me in absence. That's what I think he did.
You're proud of yourself that you got there. You won that one.
But I think
that's good. No, that's actually a fair argument. That would be the argument about God's will. That was God's will.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I have to surrender to it, and this is what it is. And
no, it actually just makes sense because it's true. And you're just not good enough to understand that.
And
let's analyze this. I think a lot of those things come from love. I think it's very difficult to do nearly anything important if it's not, perhaps to a degree, driven by love or the desire for love.
Right.
I think the reason a lot of men want to become rich is because they want to feel loved or feel important or to matter. I also feel like the reason that a lot of men do the things they do is for love, either of themselves or of someone else.
Men know the uncomfortable, brutal reality that women will never understand, which is you must become able to perform in order to attract the woman that you love and for her to love you back. This is the way of reality, and like I said, women don't understand this because they don't have the burden of performance, brutal performance on them, but it's true. And men seek status, men seek money, men seek importance. Basically, well, it's not just for love. It's for a lot of things, but love is definitely a part of it.
I think the reason men go to work is because they love their family. The reason you go to the gym is because you love yourself. I think that love is a very powerful driving force. I certainly feel love. My world is full of love. Like, I would argue I'm one of the most loved people on the planet. Like,
and if you're doing it properly, in many ways, and we can get abstract here, but you're doing it for God's love. When you're acting totally in accordance with His will, in coherence with truth as your guiding principle, then you have the most important love, which is God's love. Archetypally speaking, if you're not religious, you can think of it as archetypally resonant.
If I check my phone, it's just love.
Yeah.
It's endless emails of people I don't know who love me, endless females who do know me love me, endless pictures of children saying they miss me. Like, I'm a very loved person in a very loved world. I love a lot of people.
You love.
I absolutely love, but because I believe in myself so strongly, I feel like the way I love them is to have a degree of authority over them. Not in a crazy psychopathic way, but in a I love you, so you should do this.
Right.
I love you, so act this way. I love you, so don't do that. Almost in the same way a parent loves a child. You love your child, so you don't let them eat candy all day because you love them.
Yeah.
I'm like that with everyone in my life because I see myself as the most competent person on the planet. So I'm like, I love you. I care about you.
Wow, what a statement! What a statement, bro. Elon Musk is on the planet, dude, and that's some serious self-belief. You have to respect that.
The reason I asked the question is, can you defeat the Matrix by fighting it, or can you only defeat the Matrix through love?
Absolutely, that's a very astute question, and you're asking because you already know the answer.
And you already know the answer.
Of course, only love can win.
That's right.
Yeah.
Only love can win.
Yeah.
And it's the most powerful driving force on the face of the planet. It always has been. And it's only when people are going to wake up and have a true love for themselves and love for the community. And
Right. Love trumps the hatred of the radical left. Love trumps the incessant resentment of the radical feminists. Love trumps the division of Marxism. Love wins.
Love for their children and love for these things that we're going to start to resist the evil and the Satanism and the insanity which is coming in the world today. But I believe as a man...
Love trumps Satanism as well. Love trumps reality denial because reality denial is incoherent and against reality.
At least your love only has value when you're capable. Which is why perhaps I'm so obsessed with capability because I want my love to have value. We talked about how time has value when you're at a certain echelon. I would also argue that love has value at a certain echelon. If I'm in love with a girl, she can get a lot more from that love than if a Joe Schmo's in love with her, right? So my love has value because I have value. So I have to build myself.
See, that is a brutal, brutal reality that women will not be able to accept because it sounds too brutal, but it's true, and all men understand this.
And especially as a man, if you want to feel love, then you want to give love. The more capable you become, the more valuable your love's going to be, and that's certainly how we're going to fix the world. So yeah, the answer is love, of course, but it can't just be blind, empty love. It has to be love that is backed by a brutal, harsh capability, which is born in the worst scenarios you're going to endure as a man. And the world at its baseline is a very brutal place. It can be. And I think that becoming comfortable with those scenarios and becoming capable in those scenarios is how you give your love deep, true value. But I think that, love is the answer. Right, love is the answer. But I don't want to end,
That's hard for you to say.
No.
Like the Fonz.
No, yeah. Love. But
It's not hard for him to say because he said it right away. What are you talking about? Dude, so pathetic.
But we have to make this clear because most people misunderstand what love is.
I understand.
No, because you say love is the answer.
But not coming from you. I don't think they're going to misunderstand it coming from you. And I guess this is it. Like maybe this is it. Maybe this is what people want more from you.
Yeah.
Right? They want your love. They want to feel your love. I see it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can feel it coming off you, but I'm not like I see your sense.
No, I've always known that Andrew Tate cares about the men that he inspires because it's very obvious. It's very obvious he wants the best for the future of masculinity, and it's ultra clear. And it's also clear that by becoming the best version of yourself, you can impart the most amount of good on the world. That's also not only obvious because he's representing it to us, but that's instinctually true. Every man knows that in his genes and his DNA. So, yeah, I mean, this psychologist just simply isn't smart enough to deal with Andrew Tate, I think.
Humor, I see how you work, so I don't feel threatened by you, right? I feel like I understand
Whoa,
you.
what a Freudian thing to say right there. We already have established that you are threatened by Andrew Tate because he's echelons above you and you have not integrated a theory of masculinity, of masculine performance into your psyche that allows you to operate on the automatic level of action that Andrew Tate is capable of.
That, to me, is the problem in the world right now, is that people cannot feel the Father's love.
I agree with you.
And if they could feel that, and also the firmness, also the direction, all the things you're talking about, the discipline, but if they can't feel the Father's love, I mean, that's God's love coming through. And the Father is the embodiment of God on earth. If they can't feel that love, then we're going to have a lot of fucking problems.
But that's super interesting because they've hijacked the word love now, and they've confused the word love with tolerance and a complete lack of boundaries. And they're saying, if you're a loving person, you accept all this garbage. No, I disagree with that. You just
love trumps immorality and degeneracy, which is what the left is.
Said a very important thing. You said father's love. A father's love comes with tests and trials and tribulations. What does a dad even traditionally do for his son? Take him out there, push him in the pool, let him struggle a bit, get him out. Put him on the bike, let him fall over, help him get up. You have to go through the bad things to be rewarded and the bad things to learn. That's how a father typically loves. And a father also loves by saying no. No, you cannot do that. So you nailed it by how society needs a father's love. Completely true. And society has actually hijacked the word love and tried to convince you that you don't need the father's love. Perhaps you need this unconditional love, which is more like a mother's love, if you want to gender it, perhaps. So it's unconditional. You can act without honor, you can act without courage, you can act without discipline, and you'll be loved anyway just because you exist. I don't believe that for myself. I believe
and it also happens to be untrue.
If I remove all my morality, I will not just be loved by default, not by my family, not by God, not by society. I don't believe that. And the people who do believe that, who think I should be loved just for existing, regardless of how I act and what I think, those are some of the most evil people on the planet. I truly believe. And they're also some of the most unsuccessful and unspectacular. And they're the people who are out here genuinely trying to change society in a direction which has never been tested, which I believe is going to lead down to the depths of hell, truly. I think it's evil. So yeah, I agree with you. Father's love is important, but love in and of itself has boundaries. Love is strict. Love is hard. Love is a hard emotion.
Maybe that's the scariest thing. That's the edge. Because if we're fully surrendered to that, like we're in that flow state, that is the dissolution of the ego, letting go of all the things that we have, and we have to be in that place. And so maybe that to me is like, you know, if you want to defeat the Matrix, right? Like if you want to become Neo, I think that's what it is.
This guy's trying to tell Andrew how to defeat the Matrix. All right, I think we've concluded this. Sounds good, guys. All right, I just wanted to cover how this deteriorated because it is worth understanding the weaknesses of insufficient masculinity.